Thank you for tuning into Hinton Cast. This is Maggie Block. I am the deputy publisher at Hinton Publishing. We are so excited to be sharing these conversations that we had with authors in the Pacific Northwest who belong to communities that have historically been under-invited to share their work, aka the kind of author we publish. Now, I need to let you know that these are conversations that we had in early 2024. There's a number of reasons why we weren't able to get these podcasts out earlier. The number one being that we're a really small team who are trying to accomplish a heck of a lot. That said, these conversations are evergreen. Don't mind us if you hear us talking about something in the present tense that you now know is in the past. The knowledge, the insight, the brilliance of these conversations are going to resonate with you today. And hey, better late than never, right? Without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic back in time to Marcus and myself. Thank you.
Hello, lovers of literature, and welcome back to the Hinton Cast, where we talk to storytellers who are making sure that there's a lot of creative disruption in the publishing industry. My name, as always, is Marcus Harrison Green, and I am the publisher of Hinton Publishing. I am joined by the esteemed, marvelous, and magnificent Maggie Block, who may or may not have invented the Nike swoosh. I don't know, Maggie. There's that rumor going around that you may or may not have, but you are our deputy publisher nonetheless. So.
I would encourage our listeners to use some critical thinking skills about whether or not I invented anything. Google is free. Thank you so much, Marcus. I'm so happy to be here. We're about to talk to one of my favorite new authors.
Absolutely. I know this is a treat for the both of us, but you were super, super high on this author. And so can you please introduce him for us?
I would love to. Xiran Zhao is the New York Times best-selling and Hugo Award disqualified long but proud story, author of the Iron Widow series and Zachary, Ying, and the Dragon Emperor. Their books have been a finalist or winner of many awards, including the Nebula, BFSA, and Locus Awards. A first-gen Hui Chinese immigrant from small-town China to Vancouver, Canada. They were raised by the internet and made the inexplicable decision to leave their biochem degree in the dust and write books and make educational content instead. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so glad you're here.
Hello.
Yeah, that bio puts so many other people to shame, by the way, I got to say. That is an awesome bio.
I don't know, does it? I think, okay, I guess the unique part is the Hugo Award disqualified thing, and we can talk about that.
And we just might. I would like to give our listeners a primer for folks who have not had the chance to read Zachary Ying yet. Could you tell us a little bit about the world you created with that book, the first in a series?
Okay, yeah, so Zachary and the Dragon Emperor is a middle grade adventure story that I pitch as Chinese Percy Jackson meets Yu-Gi-Oh! And it features a 12-year-old Chinese American boy, Zach, who's not really connected to his Chinese heritage, but after the spirit of the first emperor of China possesses his AR gaming headset, he's compelled to go on a journey across China to fight historical and mythical figures and heist real artifacts.
That is an incredibly good and concise summary.
Yes.
And it's just, it's so much fun. We're going to shift gears slightly. So the reason that we got Zachary Ying as early as we got it is because, and you've been really open about this, the second book in the Iron Widow series couldn't be written because you couldn't afford the money that you made off of book one, even though that was a New York Times bestseller. Can you explain that entire saga and maybe explain what are the different pieces that happen when a writer get paid that would allow for this to happen?
Yeah, please spill the tea. Spill the tea.
Oh yeah. So it's just It's because like the initial publishing deal that I got for Iron Widow was not enough to live on. So my first offer was actually $9,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the final offer was just like double that per book. So it was ended up being about 18,000 USD per book for 2 books. And you don't get all of that immediately. And this is why I never tell people to expect to like get rich overnight from publishing, because even if you got like $1 million deal, it would still take months to get to you, and it will probably be split into multiple parts. Just like for my Iron Widow deal, it was split into 5 payments. So
Oh
there was
wow.
a payment upon signing, and then a payment upon the acceptance of the manuscript of each book, and then the publication of each book. So it was like 30 something USD, 30 something thousand USD split into 5. So obviously, like, you can't live off of that. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but it's not like quit your job and go write full time money. So after I wrote Iron Widow, I just had to. And at this point, it was 2020, and then Iron Widow wasn't going to come out until September 2021. So even if I wrote the Iron
Right.
Widow sequel, I would not be getting any money for it for years. So this is why I chose to write a second series really fast instead. Like Zachary Yin was written in 2 months, which is I don't
Wow.
know if I can ever repeat that feat
Jeez.
again.
I'll have to ask you about your writing process for that one.
Oh yeah, it was a whirlwind, and so after I wrote that, I put it on my agent, put it on submission to publishers, and it ended up selling at auction for 6 figures, which was great. But then again, I couldn't actually get any of that money until like months later, because it takes publishing contracts, months to be negotiated, and then there's like more delays with the payments. So like you really cannot bank on getting a publishing deal to like just get rich overnight. That just doesn't happen.
Right.
So like with that, I had to like do YouTube instead. So for most of 2021, my main source of income was actually my YouTube channel. And I didn't start getting royalties for Iron Widow until April 2022.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
what
Wow.
also works is like publishing pays authors twice per year. And then it's only for sales up to like a certain month, like months ahead. So it's just like there are a lot of delays with book money, and now I am getting royalties for it. So like I'm not being like snubbed or anything compared to industry standard, but it's just that all of that money came so late that this is why Heavenly Tyrant is going to be so late.
Mm. So where do things stand now? Will the profit sharing for book 2 of Iron Widow be a little fairer to you?
Well, as for the percentages, it's exactly the same, but it's just like now I have the royalties from book 1 to rely on, so I can actually like work on it. But yeah, the royalties I got were industry standard, so those were fine. It's just that my advance was not enough to like let me work on the book.
Right. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and like that's what an advance is for, right? Like it's not just like oh, we like you, here's a little bit of money. The idea to writing a book takes time, and the idea of an advance is like yeah, like you said, quit your job and write full-time kind of money, and no, like $8,000 or like $18,000 is not going to do it. Not in the Pacific
Not
Northwest
at all. No.
anyways.
Yeah, and then also like I don't know if people know this, if I don't know if this is common knowledge, but it usually takes around 2 years from a publishing deal to the book actually getting published. So for those 2 years, you're not gonna get any royalties. You only have the advance to rely on.
Okay.
So I know we have a lot of listeners who are hopefully we have a lot of listeners who are aspiring writers and kind of new to the publishing industry. And so I want to ask you, like, what advice would you have for folks who are trying to navigate contracts for the first time? I mean, despite what some people think, the publishing industry can be a little harsh and exploitative of talent.
Well, definitely consult with an agent. So definitely get a literary agent. Like, don't try to navigate this on yourself, because you will be exploited. And yeah, so that is my main advice, because your agent knows best when it comes to publishing contracts, and they are going to spend months like pushing for terms for you. So just trust your agent.
No, absolutely.
I would love to know, to switch back to Zachary Ying, where did the idea start? Can you kind of tell us what the initial idea was and what sort of an evolution it went into to become a book you could write in 2 months?
Okay, so this is actually a funny story because, like, I distinctly remember coming up with the idea on the SkyTrain, which is like it's like the subway, but it's in the sky. That's the system in Vancouver.
Yeah.
But like I was inspired to write it when I was with my friend Rebecca Schaefer, who is the author of the Not Even Bones series, and she encouraged me to try my hand at writing middle grade because I have been writing YA books and they were not getting me an agent. And I was also like hyper fixating on Chinese history and mythology. And mythology books like mythology stories make for very good middle grade novels. So immediately I was like, okay, how do I, if I were to write a middle grade book that has Chinese mythology in it, what am I gonna write about? And then immediately I thought of doing a Chinese take on Yu-Gi-Oh, which is the most formative anime of my childhood. And I just really wanted to like do that thing where I combine modern technology with like ancient myth and magic because I think that's just so cool.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yu-Gi-Oh was clearly one of your main references. To my partner who is a gamer, I am not. We listened to it together. My partner also thought that like Persona might have been like it was kind of like a mashup of Yu-Gi-Oh and Persona. What do you think of that comparison? Was there anything else you were trying to incorporate in from the gaming or video game world?
Well, I actually have never like is Persona a game?
Persona is a game. It's like it's a JRPG, so it's like it's set in Japan and it's a little bit of like a dating game. It's a little bit of like fighting bad guys in a alternate universe.
Okay, because I had never played Persona. Like I've heard of it, but I've never played it, so it's not one of my inspirations. But the
Fair.
concept of the game in the book, Myth Realm, it's basically Pokemon Go, but with mythological creatures from all over the world.
I love it.
That is awesome. So I want to get to the origin of Zachary Ying. What inspired the initial idea for you? Like, I mean, just in terms of the level of creativity that's gone into it. Like, where were you drawing from? Was it sort of an a la carte from different inspirations, or like how did you land on the finished product?
Well, so one thing for sure I knew I wanted to do was to write the story about this like Chinese American boy who's like not really connected with his culture, and then also like I wanted to feature the first emperor of China because at that time I was like really hyper fixated on the first emperor of China's life story just because it is so dramatic and I just can't get enough of it and it's such a muse to me. So I really wanted to like write a story in which I could tell the story of the first emperor of China
Yeah.
to a middle grade audience.
For those who aren't familiar with it, with the story of the first emperor of China, what is the things that it just held on to you that you could not let it go?
Well, this is the thing. He was actually born in like his enemy country, Zhao, which is it's the same as my family name, like the Zhao Kingdom, and it's because his dad was actually like a hostage prince. You know how in like Game of Thrones, like you trade princes when
Yeah.
you like establish an alliance with another kingdom. So
Right.
his dad was one of those princes and got sent to like the enemy kingdom. And then but except there was this giant war between the two kingdoms, and I think it's like literally the deadliest like war in ancient history. And the Qing kingdom, which the prince is from, won. But then after they won, they buried. Okay, supposedly they buried alive 400,000 Zhao soldiers. So basically, it was like the entire adult male population of the entire kingdom. And
Wow.
those were the circumstances that the first emperor of China was born under. And then after that, his dad like escaped from Qin because like he knew that the Zhao were going to be mad at him because he's a Qin prince. So his dad escaped and just left the first emperor of China and his mom there. And so he had to spend the first 9 years of his life in he was probably like treated extremely poorly because like about 30 years later when he conquers the Zhao kingdom, he personally comes and like buries his old bullies alive. That's what it says in the historical books. There's a
Wow.
lot of like people being buried alive
Yeah.
during this
Oh
period.
my
Common
god.
theme. Common theme. Yeah.
Yeah.
Themes.
No, so I remember profoundly one of my biggest laugh out loud moments was when, how do you say the first emperor's name? Is it Qin Shi Huang?
Qin Shi Huang.
Qing Shi Huang getting angry at Zach for having heard of George Washington and Alexander the Great, but not him. How did you learn Chinese history? I know that that certainly is like a blank spot in my public school education.
Well, I grew up in China, so I learned about it just like through the elementary school system, and also like Chinese TV has really good educational content on Chinese history. Like I remember one of my favorite TV programs when I was a kid is just this show on the educational channel where college professors come and give lectures on history.
Oh,
And that was
cool.
just one of my favorite programs. I was like 10 years old and just like listening to college professors talk about this kind of stuff. And so it's really easy to learn Chinese history when you know Chinese.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to ask you. You're a Canadian citizen, correct?
Yeah.
And but yet you chose to start Zach's story in America. I mean, and God knows, like depending on what happens, with the presidential election in 2024, I might just be joining you as a Canadian citizen. But what was the reason that you decided to start Zach's story in America?
Oh, just because like America is a bigger market and you gotta like um right to the market, I guess, because I didn't really think there was gonna be that much of a difference between setting it in Canada and setting it in America. And so I just set it in America because like I don't know. I thought that if I said it in Canada, people would have questions like, "Oh, why is it in Canada?" But when you said it in America, people just like don't have questions.
Gotcha.
Except for us.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things that struck me sort of before Zach's world turns fantastic, one of his classmates is talking about the new Chinese kid at school being a crazy rich Asian. And I am curious, how do you think anti Asian stereotypes or even just plain old Asian stereotypes have changed throughout your lifetime?
Yeah, I definitely think that the crazy rich Asian stereotype is a new thing, and it's probably caused by that movie. And so like before then, just Asians were considered to be, the model minority, good grades, like either a doctor or a lawyer, and like very meek and I guess very quiet and that kind of thing. But like now, there's this new stereotype of like, oh, they're rich, they're flashy, and they have really poor manners.
Oh, no.
Because like you see people complain about like, oh, Chinese tourists all the time. So this is something new, but I thought that like since these are like 12-year-olds, they would be more familiar with the newer stereotypes than the old ones. So that's why I had them be like, oh, he must be a crazy rich Asian.
I do want to ask you because I mean we live in this time period where there's so much censorship when it comes to books that seemingly don't deal with anything except for the dominant class in our country. I mean, you write about topics and characters and issues that I'll say I've seen banned in certain areas of the country. I mean, certainly there seems to be a growing movement to censor books that feature queer and trans characters. And so I just, as a writer, as somebody who writes so unapologetically and fearlessly, what's your, just what do you make of what's going on right now in this day and age?
Well, definitely, it is terrible and is also pathetic. It's a definitely a very reactionary move, for people to just start like politicizing these kinds of things, and to ban them. Like, why? And I think this is just like because this is how just like right wingers work, right? They just pick one issue to distract the people from the true struggle, which is class struggle against, the wealthy business owners, the corporations, and that kind of thing. But like those people, the wealthy people, don't want you to like look in their direction.
Mm-hmm.
So they like point to some other issue instead, like, oh, trans people, those are the real problems in society. You need to, we need to ban books about them. And so like it's all a distraction, really. And I would not be surprised if my books were banned, but I think I just like haven't gotten on anyone's radar yet. I think they aren't actually like I'm not sure, but I think they're going after the white books first because like they don't even glance in the direction of the POC books. But like I'm not sure about that.
Right, first they came for the white books, and then it's the
First they
POC.
came for the white books.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. It's a matter of being on their radar and or not. And you know, for the sake of the kids in Florida, let's hope that you stay off their radar a little bit longer. Um, Going back to history and mythology, I would love to know, are there any good stories from Chinese history or mythology that you haven't figured out how to work in a book yet and that you would like to tell us now? Because I feel like you are a treasure trove of knowledge.
Okay, so definitely I wanted to tell the story of Qing Shi Huang, the first emperor of China's. I think it's his like great great grandma, where she is just like the most iconic queen. And I think she was the first queen dowager who's like explicitly had that title in Chinese history. And she would just be like cracking dirty jokes while like holding court. And I just think she's so iconic. And she also represents how like women's rights were actually like more liberal back in ancient Chinese history than like more modern type, more modern history.
Wow.
So like women's liberation, women's rights actually went backwards in Chinese history, and I think it's a very big it's very unfortunate for sure. But I love her spirit so much, and she was just like she was fearless, and she also like for the sake of her country, she actually like had enough because there was like this nomad tribe to the north of the Qing kingdom that were like threatening the kingdom, and then she like hooked up with the chief of that tribe and then kept him occupied for like 20 years, and then
Wow.
when the time was ready she just like had him killed.
Wow.
So it's just like wow, like she just like did it all for her country.
Yeah, it's. I think that's a character that my sister would like very much. I just want to say it's. But um, I want to ask. Uh, Zach has a very complicated relationship with China in the book. Could you explain why that relationship is so complex and why you wanted to showcase that in the book?
Well, it's because my own relationship with China is very complicated because, obviously I do love Chinese history, Chinese culture. Well, that's part of who I am. And then, but except like I have some grievances with the government. Um, so and it's sometimes it's really hard to like separate your feelings about the government versus your feelings about like the country's people and that.
Right.
So I really wanted to just like explore the conflicting feelings that you could have toward this country that has a government that's oppressive, and that's what I wanted to explore in the book.
Yeah, I'm definitely, as a citizen of this country, certainly grappling with the with those same contrasts today. So,
Yeah,
you know,
definitely for America as well, because there is some like I don't even know. Actually, I can okay. Well, America claims to be for like liberty and that kind of thing, and but like it's really founded on genocide and slavery, And I think that could also be like hard to grapple with, but it is something that you do need to grapple with if you're an American kid.
Yeah, no, for
certainly.
sure. So, I think that leads actually really easily into talking a little bit about the Hugo Awards. We are recording this in late January 2024, and there has been some really interesting developments about the Hugo Awards is being hosted in China this year, and something kind of wacky happened with the ballots. Could you tell us a little bit more about what that wackiness is?
Well, so usually the Hugo Awards, if people don't know, they're hosted in a different country every year. And then last year it was held in China. And a lot of people were like, hey, don't do that because like we don't trust what China's gonna do. But it went through anyway. And then so in the Hugo Awards constitution, it says that you have to post the detailed ballot statistics within 90 days of the award ceremony. And then it's really suspicious when the award admin team waited like the full 90 days, the very last possible minute, to post the statistics. And then after it came out, we discovered that there were four of us who were disqualified for no given reason. So it was me, RF Kwong, Paul Weimer in the best fan writer category, and an episode of Sandman in the best, I think it was like, was it the best TV show category? But yeah, there's a category like that. And so people were obviously like very baffled because we had the votes to be finalists, and this was reflected in the ballot statistics, and yet we were just declared not eligible for no reason. And the only thing the Hugo admin team could say was that, after reviewing the Hugo Constitution and the rules we must follow, we deemed these people ineligible. And it was like, that's not a response.
Wow.
That's not an explanation. Like, which rules did we break? Like, give us some detailed like constitutional clauses. But he would refuse. He just refused to like give any more detail, and it's still something that's like baffling all of us. We're not getting any answers, and it's very fortunate because the Hugo Awards are the most prestigious awards in science fiction and fantasy, and now there's just this blatant ballot manipulation. And also, yeah, even the ballot statistics that were declared eligible, apparently there's like they're very fishy as well. Like they don't add up. So the numbers are all like weird, and it really is unfortunate because it kind of just invalidates the entire awards, like especially for this year. And I don't really know how the Hugos are supposed to proceed from here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Who do you think that this reflects the most poorly on?
Well, the Hugo admin team, and especially the guy who like gave that non-response, Dave
Yeah.
McCarty, I think. So people have been trying to like grill him for answers, but he just refused to give answers, and he starts insulting you when you like ask questions.
What? Oh,
Wow.
that's terrible.
How insufferable of a human being.
Very.
Well, and like awards are arbitrary and kind of foolish anyways, but you want to believe that they at least have a level of integrity. Like,
Yeah.
hopefully, at least the people who are voting for them and making these decisions want to be able to lift up, the best.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it just Hugo award winning is just not going to mean the same thing
Yeah.
for me moving forward.
Exactly. At the very least, you don't want to ever be able to, to like call into question the process. But my goodness, it's calls into question so much.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, even a few years ago, there was this thing called the Sad Puppies, in which a bunch of right wing writers banded together to just like vote, right wing books onto the ballots. And then even that, they were doing it with technically legitimate votes.
Wow.
So yeah, that's because they all joined the Hugos, the voting. Okay, honestly, the Hugo Awards, they seem like so prestigious, so mysterious, but it's really just like 1,000 or so nerds who are voting. And
like,
those categories only get like a few hundred votes, so it is actually really like it's decided by a very small group of people. And so like even those, they were technically legitimate votes, but like this, like last year was the first time where people were just dropped from the ballot for no given reason, even though we had the votes.
dang.
Wow. Well, I want to return to the book that should have been nominated by and received all the Hugo Awards, every single one. I want to ask you, like, so I make fun a lot of Michael Bay on this podcast and in my personal life because majority of his movies are they're just action scenes, and all of the writing goes to to lead up to the action scene, and there is no actual story. But in your writing, the narrative, it has everything. It has everything you want. In terms of like great action, there's thrilling battles, there's chase scenes, there's heists, there's a draw sense of humor. So can you discuss how you're able to actually balance like a strong narrative and substantive story with action-packed sequences, and they complement each other as opposed to distracting from one another?
Well, that's what I try to do. I'm not sure if I did it successfully. That's up for reviewers to decide.
Well, in
But
my
for me,
opinion, my humble opinion.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I just like I try to not to have like too many battles in a sequence without having at least like some emotional moment. And even in battles, like I want there to be some sort of like emotion involved. Because I just don't like action for action. I think that makes it boring, but if you just have it like there's a scene where Zach goes to the museum in Shanghai, and then in the middle of it, he like notices there's a whole level dedicated to like ethnic minorities, but he's like, oh, but actually like China doesn't really treat ethnic minorities that well. So like he still has like these feelings in the middle of it, and he like I try to have him react to everything around him, just to like put the perspective in his head. And I hoped I hope I did a good job balancing those.
I think so. I can you quickly just make me a breakable promise that
What?
you won't have Michael Bay direct the adaptation?
Oh my god. No, no, Michael Bay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. You've made my day. Thank you so much.
Look, I just want you to get the bag however you can. I'm not here to make you make any promises. I would, however, love to better understand how the magic works in Zachary Ying's world. Can you explain a little bit more deeply how Bruce Wayne could be hanging out with the first emperor of China in the spirit world?
Yeah, so in the magic system in Zachary is based on legends. So the idea is that if a story is passed on for like hundreds of years, then the figures in the story actually like gain just like they become like legitimate spirits in the spirit realm, and they have like this presence, and like superheroes are basically American mythology if you think about it. And
Yes,
this is
Mm-hmm.
something I
definitely.
get into in my book. It's because like, when you go to Comic Con and when you talk about just like Batman and Superman and stuff, we talk about them as if they are real.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
sometimes I wonder if this was also the case with like the Greek gods, because were they aware that they were just talking about fictional characters, but they were still just like having discussions about like, oh, I was like I cried when this character died. And yeah, I just think that the concept of like superheroes as American mythology is super fascinating. So in my setting, like, if Batman and Superman, if like their stories persist for like several hundred years, then yes, they will become tangible spirits, and they can be with like all of the other historical and mythological spirits.
I love that.
That is great. That is great. Um, so I gotta say, you in this book on one hell of a cliffhanger. There are children from sea to shining sea and young adults who are agonizing over the way that the book ended, and they just cannot wait to, find out what in the world happened. Now, are you sorry to all these people who are hanging on, literally hanging on the last word of your book, and are just in pure agony until the next one comes out?
No, because I don't think this cliffhanger was as mean as the one in Iron Widow.
I mean,
Well,
that's true, but I feel like that's also
debatable, I'd say.
that's like a really, really like that's a. I guess if you're only comparing to yourself, that's true. The
Yeah, yeah.
cliffhanger for Zachary Gig is in fact not as devastating
I,
as
don't- I
Iron
would
Widow.
say, yeah, I'd say one is like the LeBron James, the other is the Michael Jordan. It's a matter of taste. It's a matter of taste.
Okay. We would also love to be able to ask you a couple questions about your process as a writer.
Yeah, so earlier you said you completed a book in 2 months. Like I can barely write 3 sentences in that time period. So I want to know what in the world was your process like in order to do that? Was it a clocking in, clocking out 9 to 5 style day that Stephen King talks about? Was it you setting aside weekends? Like how did that happen?
Well, I am actually terrible with discipline, and I think the only reason that I managed to get Zachary and done in a whirlwind 2 months was because out of desperation, honestly. Because at this point, I had gotten my deal for Iron Widow, but my parents were just like not impressed with it at all because again, it wasn't a livable wage, and they're like, "Wow, like 7 years. You have been at this for 7 years, and then this is the result you're gonna get."
Mm.
And so, um basically I had to write Zachary in to prove that I do have what it takes to be a full-time author. And especially it's because like this was 2020. It was like the height of COVID. I couldn't actually go out and get a job or anything. And my mom was very angry at me for this. We had like so many big fights. I nearly just like ran off to Toronto with the intention of cutting off contact forever. But I couldn't do that because COVID. And so I just put all of my desperation into just writing this story so that I can like take a second shot at getting a deal that can actually like feed myself.
Mhm.
And so what I do, I write on an Alpha Smart 3000. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
No.
But it's basically this like it's like, oh my god, I forgot how to describe it. So do you guys know what an Alpha Smart is?
Do you know?
I do not, but I mean,
I'm Googling it as
I'm
we
very
speak.
curious at this moment.
I think it's called a word processor, but it's basically, it looks like a keyboard, but there's this like tiny screen and you can only see like
Oh.
4 lines, and you can't do anything except type on it. So no distractions.
Oh my
You're just
goodness.
like on that like really you're just on this device. You can't like watch videos or like go on Twitter or anything. So you can only write. And then that's I would not have like gotten this book done without that Alpha Smart, honestly. So to all writers, I recommend getting an Alpha Smart 3000.
It looks fairly affordable too. I just might have to invest myself. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know there are like there's a more like modern high tech version that sells for like that it's made by another company and it sells for like $700, and it's
Yeah.
like, wow, that is, but writers don't have that kind of money.
Right.
But like you can get an Alpha Smart for like $50 on eBay. It's been discontinued, so you can't actually get like, you can't contact the company for anything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely get one because it is very useful.
Okay. That's a great tip. Okay.
No, that's awesome. Completely distraction free. To ask a different sort of question, you write about some heavy topics, even in your middle grade book. How do you guard against taking on some of the trauma experienced by your characters as a kind of secondary trauma?
I actually through writing these stories, I kind of like process my own trauma through it. So a lot of the trauma in it is just like inspired by something that I've experienced, and I find it like it does really help to like express it in a story to like process my feelings with it, because like you have to write the protagonist's reaction to like the things happening, right? And then so with this, it's basically like you're you're going to therapy and you're talking to your Alpha Smart, and you're just like getting all your feelings out about that kind of stuff. So for me, it is actually like therapeutic instead of traumatizing.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, I want to ask you because I mean, as you mentioned earlier, right? I mean, writing is it can be an endeavor that is can be very isolating at times, and you need a support system, right? I mean, you need people who believe in you and can provide you with some level of affirmation. And so I'm wondering, do you have a group like that that it just helps to either keep you accountable on days you don't feel like writing, or just days where you need some level of uplift? How do you go about how do you go about like finding your people, so to speak?
Are you asking me if I have friends?
No.
No, I'm asking you specifically about
You're asking me if I have friends.
I believe that you have friends.
I do.
find it
I
hard
do,
to
I
believe
do.
you don't have friends.
Although we are going through a crisis of loneliness. I just read about this in the New York Times. So I mean, that is
It is.
it's
It's
a
because
legitimate
of
question these
alienation.
days. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because of alienation under capitalism. Because like capitalism,
Mhm.
in order to sustain itself, it has to like keep us apart. Because the solidarity is the only way that we can achieve like something better than capitalism, socialism. And so like it deliberately alienates you from the products of your labor and all of that. Just like read Marx, he goes into
Yeah.
it. But yeah, for me, I do have my people, and it's actually really interesting because like before I got published, I used to like be really disheartened when my friends would not read my books, because like back when I was a baby writer and just like writing these books, and then I sent it to my friends and it seemed like they just like didn't care and they never read it, and that would be really disheartening to me. And nowadays I don't care at all whether my friends read my books, because I have readers read my books. Like my friends don't need to read my books, and I actually prefer my friends to like not be fans of me, if you know
Mm.
what I mean. Just
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
like I don't know, there's a certain weirdness with that. So I just like being around people that treat me naturally, treat me like anyone else. Um so I definitely, a lot of my friends are internet friends. Like I don't actually have I don't have a friend group in real life because I never go outside.
Hmm.
Oh, actually, I do have a friend group from high school, but I don't see them very often because they live far away. And so, I should probably get to more socializing. I shouldn't be spending so much time indoors, but this is the way I am right now.
Yeah. Well, it seems to, the result is that you produce great work. So, I mean, keep on at it, I guess. I don't know.
Well, hopefully.
I mean, I think that there are definitely advantages to being someone who, you're self proclaimed, raised on the internet. Nowadays, to be a writer, you need to, like, a lot of people to experience success need to be able to have an online presence and have a social media presence, and you navigate that so seamlessly. I'm curious if you have any advice or quick tips for folks who find that part of being a writer nowadays a little bit less intuitive than you.
Well, I honestly do think that like if it's not intuitive to you, you should just focus on writing books instead
Okay.
because I see a lot of authors just like stressing out over social media and they don't know how to make things go viral. And honestly, I think like either you have the intuition for it or you don't. And if you don't have the intuition for it, like you should just really just like spend more time writing more books because like that gives you more of a chance to be seen.
Mm.
But like for me, I had no idea that I had this in me. I had no idea like that I was going to be good at social media because when Iron Whittle sold, I my Twitter was a Yu-Gi-Oh fan account with less than 500 followers.
Amazing.
And then somehow, like after it sold, because I knew that like I wasn't gonna get like, oh, like New York Times like top six-figure marketing budget or something. So I just like I tried to advertise my book however I could, and then somehow that like ended up working. And I think now I have like over 140,000 followers on Twitter, and that's my least followed account.
Wow.
And honestly, I had no idea, like absolutely no idea that I had this in me. But it's just like I could just tell when I'm writing something whether the tweet will go viral, and it's just I for some reason it's just like that's the way I am. I just have the intuition for it, and I can't explain it. I can't teach it. So like, it,
You
Well,
are the
I don't know.
chosen
I
one.
yeah.
yeah, I don't know how to give advice
That's
on this. I'm just like, okay,
okay.
Well,
and I don't really um like there's nothing that I like do deliberately. I think it's I just be myself
mm,
because sometimes when I like try to deliberately advertise stuff, it just like it flops.
mm-hmm.
And but when I'm just like being myself, like this sounds like such a cliche, but like just be yourself and you just go viral. I some for some reason that just happens.
I'm going to try that because you have 139,950 more followers than I do on your least followed account. So I'm gonna go with those tips and try to bulk it up a little bit. Try to bulk it
Yeah.
up.
I feel like it's a little similar to I'm a former youth worker. I talk about this a lot. I'm sorry, listeners. But, like when you try and perform and pretend like you're someone that you're not, like I think that young people in particular can just see right through that. And those are the main folks I feel like are on the internet. So I feel like it's a similar thing of like, yes, be yourself. And also, like, if you are trying to perform as someone else, people will see through that and it won't seem genuine and they won't be excited about it. Whereas if you're just being your normal, weird, bizarre self, like there are going to be
Yeah.
other weird, bizarre people who are going to be like, yeah, like I
Yes.
get this person.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it because for me, like I have a really bad time, like a hard time being fake and lying and that kind of stuff. I can't do it. I can barely answer. Okay, when people ask me how are you,
Mhm.
like I actually stop and think about the answer because like if it's not fine, I don't want to lie about that. So I'm just like really really bad at lying. And I just when I'm online I post whatever I want. Like I was really really hyper fixated on the French Revolution for like several months. It's a little better now, but like for well, it wasn't several months. It was like a year or so, more than a year. But I was really focused on it. I could not stop thinking about the French Revolution and Maximilien Robespierre.
Oh
So
my
I
God,
made
yeah.
like a crap ton of Robespierre content, and it had like absolutely nothing to do with my books. So like it wasn't even book promo. It was just like it made myself laugh and I enjoyed making them, but like they were absolutely irrelevant to my career. And here I was just like churning out Robespierre TikToks for some reason.
Is the French Revolution? I don't. Does everybody go through like a phase of it or something? Because I also had a little phase there where I was listening to. I don't know if you're familiar with the Revolutions podcast
Oh
by
yeah,
Mike
yeah.
Duncan. But yeah, he had like a full season. I think it's 120 episodes maybe of the French Revolution, and I just could not get enough. And like I did not know why, but I don't know. It's
No, it's because of the interpersonal drama in the French Revolution.
yes,
Because like you have these friends, and then like all of the friends they start betraying each other, and there's just so much drama, and it's very juicy.
yes.
And these like revolutionaries, they have such personality. And because like so you listen to that podcast, you know the difference between like Robespierre and Danton.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so like it is just such a like wild juxtaposition in which like Robespierre is this like he's a dandy, he's elegant, he's very neat, and then here's Danton who's very wide,
Right.
he's large, and he's loud, and yet they're on the same side, but they are so different from one another, and yet they're like they're like allies to enemies.
Right, and just all the characters from you have Lafayette from all these like rich characters of this revolution, and you're like, did these people were real? Like I mean, like, and it's
Exactly. Oh my god. Do
yeah.
you remember the beef between Lafayette and Robespierre?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, how like Robespierre started talking shit about Lafayette, and then like Lafayette came back from the war front to confront Robespierre, and Robespierre was
No.
just like, "Well, I said what I said."
Yes, it was. It's like, yeah, right. You literally have people. I mean, at the time, right, attempting to like, I guess establish and implement like the biggest revolution of its time, and there's so much pettiness, and it's like
It is. Oh my god, they're so petty.
yes, but that being said, I could go down the rabbit hole on the French Revolution all day. That being said, we want to get you out of here on our final question, which we ask of everybody. It's called apropos of nothing, which as the phrase would dictate, it's literally a question that has very much nothing at all to do with what we just talked about, but is a fun one nonetheless. And so I want to ask you, because I've been thinking about this. Who is the more insufferable billionaire? Kim Kardashian or Elon Musk?
Elon Musk.
Yeah. That was no hesitation there. That was like
No hesitation, just because I feel like Elon Musk does more damage. Because Kim Kardashian actually like have some sort of sympathy for her, because like it seems to me that like a lot of times people just hate her because of like misogynistic reasons
Right.
a lot
For
of
sure.
times. But Elon Musk, it's just like I think it's because like people actually think that he's smart, and he's just like, oh, real life Tony Stark. And nobody thinks that of Kim Kardashian, you know what I mean? So like,
yeah.
okay, it feels mean to say, but like nobody takes Kim Kardashian seriously.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
like people actually take Elon Musk seriously, and that's damaging on itself, because like he gives off this image of like, oh, it's possible to be like super smart and become a billionaire just because you're smart and not because you're exploiting people.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. I would definitely concur. I think everybody would concur with that at over here at the Hinton Cast.
Yeah, and also he completely ruined Twitter. But
True.
Twitter right now, it feels like the Mad Max Fury Road of social media platforms.
That is an excellent way to put it.
Just like it is completely lawless, and people are fighting in the community nodes. But also, I feel like Twitter is right now is the least censored social media platforms, ironically, just because like there's nobody there anymore.
Yes.
They can't. They can't do it. The workload is too much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Well, we seriously just want to say thank you so much for your time today. It was very much a privilege. This was a rich conversation filled with so much advice and wisdom, and I cannot wait until our listeners get a chance to hear it.
All right, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love your books. I cannot wait to read the next books in both of your upcoming series. And just thank you for writing such compelling and exciting stuff. I know that my former students were a huge fan, and adults should get on the bandwagon too. Your writing is so good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening to Hinton Cast. This is all made possible by Hinton Publishing. If you would like to support the work that we do, please consider becoming a monthly supporter. If you go to hintonpublishing.com/support-hinton, you will see the many different tiers of support that you can sign up for. And no matter what your budget is, you can choose something that you will not miss at the end of the month. We want to thank Ben Hunter for this beautiful intro and outro music that we use. We want to thank Michael B. Main for recording the gorgeous audio of our conversation today. And we want to thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again at our next episode.